What's good, guys? Here we are with part 3 of the After Effects tutorial series. In this video, we're finally going to start animating something. We're actually going to animate our hero, the spaceman. So if you recall our reference video, he starts off screen and then hops in. So we're going to make that happen. So the first thing, let's go ahead and just pull him right off frame, and then if you recall, we set the torso as the center so that every other appendage goes with it. So we're going to animate the torso first and then go ahead in with details later on. So we're going to use position first. So we drop down our transformation menu and we find position right there. So we make sure our time cursor is right at the beginning because that's what we're starting. And we're going to decide how long that transformation happens. So each one, we'll call it maybe 2 seconds. We'll see how it goes. So let's hit this little stopwatch icon for a position. And that's going to bring up a keyframe, which is this little blue diamond down there. And that represents the start of the transformation. And so now we have to decide where the end of that transformation is. So let's go with 2 seconds. And so this is representing one hop. So let's say that first hop brings him to there. And now you see that after I moved it, another keyframe popped up down here where our cursor is. So now let's go ahead and do the next hop. Let's do another 2 seconds or so. And then finally we'll do 3 hops. It's a little farther than our original video, but that's fine. So now we've got 3 segments of this transformation. And right now they're just going straight. So let's go ahead and sculpt these paths for this transformation. So you see I clicked the node and that little handle came up. And so I'm using those little handles to turn and shape these paths. And so let's get that last one set. And so these are things you kind of have to play with. There's no real exact science to this. You just kind of have to play with them. I usually like to push in one end and only use one side, but you do whatever works for you. So I'm going to just kind of sculpt that. And so that last handle, sometimes your handles don't want to show up. So what you want to do is press G on your keyboard. And then that's going to bring up this tool called the pen tool. And you can see at the top left the pen tool is highlighted blue. And so that's what we're using to get these handles to show up and make them editable. And then we're just going to press V on our keyboard to get back to the selection tool. So now we've actually sculpted our paths into arcs to resemble hopping. So that's not too bad. So our keyframes represent start and end points of a transformation. So the nice thing about these is we can just grab these and shift these to kind of make things happen faster or slower. So obviously that one was a little strange, but so I'll just move that back. But it's always good to remember that you don't have to redo every animation. If it doesn't time quite right, you just grab your keyframes. Sorry, let me go ahead and fix that. So just remember those things are still movable. So he's looking pretty stiff. He's running that path. So we're gonna handle that by animating other elements of his body. So if you remember, we used parenting to parent all of those limbs to the torso. So that will allow us to animate all of those elements and they will still follow the torso. So let's start with the leg. And we're just going to do simple rotations out and then back in. So we're going to go to the peak of the jump and kick that leg out. by dragging this little switch here. I'm just clicking down and dragging, and that kicks it out. And then at the end of this, we're going to bring it back in so that that leg's coming down so he can land back on his feet. So let's take a look at how that goes. So it's out and then back in. So then we're just going to continue for the next hop. So let's get to the peak of that jump. Grab our switch and drag it out. And then right back in. And you see that every time we move the element, a new keyframe is created. So then we have one more. Let's go out. And then bring him back down to landing position and rotate it back in. So now let's see how that looks. Okay, so let's go ahead and catch that other leg. We're going to do the same thing. And we're actually going to do a similar thing for the arms as well. So it's all about the peak of the jump and then the land of the jump. So the peak of this jump, we kick out. The landing of the jump, we're kicking back in. And then peak, we're kicking out. And then we land and bring it back in. And then third time's a charm. We kick out. And finally, we land right back in. Okay. See how that looks? Not too bad. So let's go ahead and catch those arms as well. So I'm going to close that just so it doesn't get in the way. Let's drop down our arm transformations. We're going to do the same thing. We're still just using rotation right now. Very, very simple. So let's get to the peak of the jump. Swing his arms up to the landing. He brings his arms down. And so we'll see how that looks. Okay, so let's actually activate that keyframe. I apologize. So we'll go out and in. Okay, and last one, out and in. So let's catch that last leg. It is quite tedious, but these details, these minor movements that accompany the bigger movement, and by that I mean the bigger movement is the hop and the minor movements are the rotations of these limbs. These are the things that are going to make your animation feel more visceral and more interesting to look at, right? So we have to go through these steps over and over again sometimes, but the product is worth it. So last one, out and in. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've done. Nice. So let's go ahead and save as always, and I will catch y'all on the next one.